The Chrysler Jeep APBA Gold Cup, the most prestigious powerboat race in the world. Hello, everybody. I'm John Nicholson. We're coming to you live from Detroit, high above the Detroit River, where we plan some live hydroplane racing, the fastest boats around today. Unfortunately, right at the moment, Mother Nature is not cooperating. The wind has been blowing hard here all day long in Detroit. The temperature right now, as you see, 72 degrees. The wind from the southeast at 18 miles an hour. The forecast is for rain. That's not so terribly important, but the wind is whipping up the water. We are on a hold right now for the races. I am joined by Tom Deeth, a three-time APBA Gold Cup winner in 1976 with the piston engine Miss US, and in 89 and 90 with the turbine engine Miss Budweiser. And Tom, you know what it's like to race out here, to win out here, and everything that's involved in this very, in fact, most prestigious event in powerboat racing.
Absolutely right. This is our Kentucky Derby, the Indianapolis 500, all rolled into one for powerboat racing. Everybody that drives a powerboat in the United States wants to win a Gold Cup at least once.
We have some tremendous people competing out here. We have the Miss Budweiser, the Smokin' Joes, the Pico's American Dream, the three favorites coming in. Very, very tight among those boats in any given race. No telling out of the gate who will win when you start.
Well, these are the most powerful boats in the world, cascading rooster tails. They just put on a tremendous show, and especially on this tricky Detroit River course. If you beat the river, you've done it. Let's
take a look now at some highlights from the qualifying earlier in the week. This is Smokin' Joe with Mark Tate at the wheel, and Smokin' Joe was really moving around this 2.5-mile course on the Detroit River, setting a top qualifying speed of a lap at 168 miles per hour. So fast, we understand, that some of the folks in the pits were saying, can that possibly be that fast? 168 miles an hour, absolutely incredible. 6 miles an hour or so faster than the Budweiser and the Pico American Dream. But then, with Mark Tate sitting pretty, this is what happened. This is Heat 2B on Saturday. On the top of the screen in red, Miss Budweiser, and on the right, Smokin' Joe, Tom.
You can see the Budweiser's getting airborne. The sponson's coming off the water. It's crossing over now the deck of the Smokin' Joe. Now it spins in front and flips upside down, cascading into the water, somersaulting, tumbling. The Smokin' Joe, a collision, a two-boat accident, devastating looking accident, but both drivers appear to be okay.
It lands upright. Chip Hanauer still, as we're looking there, in the Miss Budweiser, and Mark Tate, who was in the cockpit of the Smokin' Joe. Now, let's find out what's happened since that time. We'll start with Jim Hendrick, who was down in the Smokin' Joe pit. Jim.
Actually, we're down in a very empty Smokin' Joe pits. All that's left of the team, besides the truck in back of me, is a very badly damaged tail cone from the turbine section. Now, before they pulled out, I had a chance to talk to the crew chief, Jim Lucero. After working around the clock, this has to be a big disappointment.
It certainly is, Jim. You know, the Smokin' Joe crew just worked their fannies off all night long to try to get the boat put back together after being hit by the Budweiser at Heat 2B yesterday. But, you know, that's kind of racing luck. You know, if Dale Earnhardt gets bumped by Rusty Wallace at Daytona and gets put into the wall, he's out of the race. And unfortunately, that's the same thing that's happened to the Smokin' Joe this weekend. But, you know, we're really proud of being the top qualifier here. We felt we really had an edge at this race, and we thought we had an excellent chance of winning the Chrysler Gold Cup here in Detroit. But we'll be back again next week in Kansas City, and they better have their best stuff in the boat because we'll be loaded up ourselves.
Well, the ultimate decision, you know, to pull a boat out of a race lies with the owner. And we talked to that owner, Steve Woomer, before he left. Very big disappointment, Steve.
Yeah, it sure is. The Smokin' Joe was running really, really well here, and we were looking forward to a tremendous race and unfortunate racing incident. And crew worked all night on the Smokin' Joe boat, but just cannot get the thing repaired in time to make today's race. So we're going to have to cancel today, as unfortunate as it is. I think the first time in our history that's happened, in fact.
And although this may be the first time this incident has happened for Smokin' Joe team, history has repeated itself down in the Budweiser camp from 2 years ago. For that story, let's go to Steve Montgomery.
Well, Jim, you're right. Here at the other end of this historic pit area in Detroit, the news is a little bit better, largely because the damage to this Budweiser not quite as severe, namely the roll cage, which is an integral part of the hull and was badly damaged on the Smokin' Joes, was okay here. Still a long night for the Bud team, but they did get the boat ready. Now, the other question is the driver. Chip Hanauer is okay. Okay in hydroplane racing is not good enough. And today, it was announced that Chip Hanauer will not drive if we go today. Bernie Little, the team owner, fortunately, as always, has a backup. Buddy, yeah. Bernie, what are we going to do?
Well, yes, Mark Evans is our backup driver that drove for us last year in the Miss Budweiser. And so what we're going to do is Mark's going to take the seat, and Chip has got to sit out. He's had a concussion, and for 72 hours, we can't put him back in the boat. And I wouldn't want to do that anyhow, so I want to give him a rest and get him feeling good. And
Mark, you've been here before, and this could be a chance to win the Gold Cup.
Well, hopefully. We were on our way to a win in Evansville when I raced for him before, so I'd sure like to finish that off. But Gold Cup would be really nice to get for myself and for the Budweiser team.
So if we go today, John, it's Mark Evans in the Miss Budweiser with a realistic shot at his first Gold Cup.
All right, thank you, Steve and Bernie and Mark. Meanwhile, over the Miss Wellness Plan, Ken Dryden steps up to replace Mark Evans in the seat there.
Right, Ken Dryden is a crew member of one of the boats and was here and is a definitely qualified driver. He's going to do a great job in that boat.
Now, these events could put Dave Villwalk in the catbird seat at this stage in the Duels High Point Championship, because Dave won at Phoenix in the Pico American Dream, and he certainly would be the favorite now. Perhaps it would be also Mark Evans, Miss Budweiser, to win here in Detroit. But right now, Dave Villwalk looking very good in the O'Doul's High Points. And we are now looking at an incredible situation here, because yesterday it was a 2B heat on a Saturday afternoon with 2 more sets of heats to come, and then the final. You have your two of your top 3 drivers, certainly, Tom, and here they are pushing as hard as they can.
Well, this is Gold Cup 1996, and they were going for it. Very competitive. Mark Tate in the Smokin' Joes and Chip Hanauer in the Budweiser. Neither one given a quarter to the other one, and they were just going for it. It's a racing incident.
Okay, and it is the Gold Cup, as we say, the most prestigious event in powerboat racing, and so that's the extra incentive there. We are going to be back in just a moment with more from yesterday and what's happening today at the Gold Cup. Las Vegas Open. We are on hold here right now. The wind's still blowing hard. John Nicholson along with 3-time Gold Cup champion Tom Deeth. Tom, the wind really causing problems with the choppy water.
Well, that's right. The way the wind is blowing against the current, it's creating ground swells here on the Detroit River Racecourse, and at the present time, at least, until the wind dies down, I just don't see how they're going to run any more heats.
Now on Saturday, as the sun begins to come out here, but the wind keeps blowing, gorgeous. The sun was shining, the wind was light and from the south, which was very nice as we got set for the beginning of Heat 1A. Here's how they lined up. Dave Villwalk and Pico American Dream. Mitch Evans driving the Rooster Tail, the piston-powered boat. Chip Hanauer, Miss Budweiser, who won it last year. Mark Evans, who was then driving Miss Wellness Plan. And Steve David, Miss DOC AccuView. Here's how we called it. Down to about a minute to go. And again, they have got to come up on the start-finish line right at 0. If you get there too soon, you're penalized a lap. And it would be mighty difficult to get much done if you get penalized a lap in this heat, Tom.
Right, we're getting really close to the 1-minute gun, and there it goes.
Is.
And you can see all the boats are down in the Belle Isle Bridge turn. They're coming up. What they're going to do is come up the backstretch at a slow. They're timing their start now. They're trying to get to their timing mark. They're cruising along, sometimes a little bit slower than they want to, but going at a speed to where they've got that inside position. Dave Villwalk, it appears, has got nailed down the inside with the Budweiser right next to him.
Boy, they're both slowing down considerably. Pico and Bud, the 2 top qualifiers in this heat. 2nd and 3rd qualifiers overall. Both 2nd, Pico 3rd. Here comes
Bud's on the inside.
Bud
now.
inside.
Yep, he's got the inside. Dave Villwalk let him have the inside.
And Miss Wellness Plan is in that group as well. Now they're all picking it up again.
Yeah, they're getting ready to make the run toward the clock.
10 seconds to go before the start of the race.
They're a little bit early. It's about a 6 or 7 second run from there to the starting line.
And there is the start of the race.
We've got the Budweiser on the inside, Pico's American Dream, and Mitch Evans, and then we've got Stephen David and the Miss DOC Actiview.
Just the way that they set up in qualifying, Chip Hanauer, who swept through the heats here last year, and right behind him, Dave Villwock in the Pico's American Dream.
Chip's got a slight advantage on the inside coming off the Belle Isle turn. Dave Villwock right on his hip, and we see Stephen David way on the outside. Boats coming up the backstretch now, flat out. This is where they're running well over 200 miles an hour heading for that Rooster Tail turn.
The tightest turn in racing, coming right up for Chip Hanauer in the lead.
You can watch the boat hanging on the skid fin now. He's got the skid fin locked in real good. A beautiful turn by the Budweiser. Pico American Dream just on his hip, just in second place on the outside.
Chip has got, I would say, 3 or 4 boat lanes anyway now on Dave Villwock now.
He's definitely got the advantage. You can see the inside line. First of all, it gives Chip the good clean water. He can read the water real well. He's got an advantage now. Pico, no matter what he's doing right from here on in, he's got to close it up if he can.
And if he realizes he can't, then I guess he has to just try to hold the position he can and pick up the 300 points for second place.
That's right. He's gonna. If he can't close on the Budweiser, what he's gonna do is just kind of protect second place, keep the third and fourth place boats behind him, and let that Miss Pico run into smoother water. Whoa, he got a little bit loose right there on the backstretch.
Budweiser flying down the outside, Pico well outside of him.
You can see the daylight underneath the boats as they're coming down the backstretch. They're actually riding on the propeller, and they float the sponsons over the top of the water.
Once again around the Rooster Tail for Chip Hanauer. As we are into the last lap, there's the white flag.
White flag, 1 lap to go. Budweiser.
Pico still in second. Then Miss DOC, followed by the Wellness Plan, and finally the Rooster Tail. Chip Hanauer.
There's a beautiful shot from the eye in the sky, the Labatt eye in the sky.
It looks as if Chip Hanauer is going to start this year's APBA Gold Cup the same way he did last year, with a solid victory in Heat 1A.
We're looking at our 4th and 5th place boats, I believe, Stephen David and the Miss DOC. Here comes the Budweiser now down the backstretch. Pico right on his tail.
Looks like Villwock is going to have to settle for second. Not much question about that.
That's right. You notice the boat hit the wake there and pick up that right sponson.
Right.
Chip hooked it right there a little bit. Hit the right sponson, dig in it.
Here comes Chip heading for the checkered flag, and there we see it. Chip Hanauer, the winner of our first heat here at the APBA Gold Cup races. Dave Villwock will be second. And as we check the Fruit of the Loom results, indeed, Miss Budweiser with Chip Hanauer took first place in Heat 1A. That's 3 laps at 2.5 miles each. Pico American Dream, Miss DOC AccuView with Steve David. The Miss Wellness Plan with the time Mark Evans driving. And finally, the piston-powered Rooster Tail. Afterward, Steve Montgomery talked with the winner down at the dock.
Chip, how's the new boat ride?
Well, it's the old boat, but
Rebuilt.
You're right. It's okay. The problem here is it changes all the time, and we're doing this over 2 days. So what we have this afternoon probably is going to be different than what we have now, and what we have tomorrow is probably going to be entirely different than what we have today. So it's a long week.
You know what that 100 points on Villwock did?
Well,
It moves you into first place.
Yeah, the national championship at this point means nothing at all. There's a long season to go.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Bernie says it means something.
Means a lot.
And the good news is it is a long season because Chip is not likely to pick up any more points, or Miss Budweiser is not likely to pick up many more, unless, of course, we get the final in and Mark Evans can do the job. The clock start we talked about, this is unique to the Gold Cup races, Tom.
It is. This is the only race that they use the clock start still. Traditionally, years ago, that's all they used was the clock start. It dates back to sailboat racing like the America's Cup. It's a 5-minute time segment. You have to be at the starting line when a 1-minute gun fires. When it gets to 0, you're heading for the first turn as fast as it'll go. The other races, they run the flag starts now.
So you dice for position, you get up on there, and if you get there too soon, you're behind by a lap because you have to run extra one. So that makes it very, very tough out here.
Right. It's a real strategic part of the race to watch that when they're milling around in the 1 minute period. So
and we'll see that as the day goes on, and we'll be back in just a moment with more from Detroit, the APBA Gold Cup races.
To win the 10th Gold Cup is impossible, but we did it, and we're looking forward now to saying, well, maybe we can get it 15 times. You see, for whatever it takes, we'll be there with the Miss Budweiser to make sure we're in the winner's circle.
APBA Gold Cup races, you're looking from the Belle Isle Bridge, also known as the MacArthur Bridge. Our camera position for turn 1 here at the race course. That's the big wide turn, the widest in unlimited hydroplane racing. John Nicholson along with Tom Deeth. We are still on hold, Tom. The wind's still blowing hard.
Yeah, Mother Nature's got us pinned right down. The wind's blowing still probably 25 to 30 miles an hour. So we're just hoping for the best.
And yet, even if it doesn't get going today, we have plenty of action to show you because so much happened on Saturday. We're going to take a look now at Heat 1B in the APBA Gold Cup. And the competitors there, Mike Hansen driving DeWalt Tools, Rick Christensen, Miss Wellness Plan 2, Jimmy King, Miss Exide, and the favorite Mark Tate and Smokin' Joe's. Here's how we called it.
Checkerboard paint job on its horizontal stabilizer.
As we get a look from the Labatt Eye in the sky at 3 of the boats jacking position down there in Heat 1B. There's the gun.
There's the 1 minute gun. There's 1 minute to go now to the start of the race. The boats are coming around the Belle Isle turn. There's one boat up on the backstretch already quite early. He's going to be very early, might even jump the clock. But the Miss DeWalt, Miss Exide with Jimmy King, and Smokin' Joe's with Mark Tate are in the right position. Coming up the backstretch, they have probably around 30 seconds now before the start of the race.
Is that boat still running, or is that boat gone? Miss Wellness Plan 2 barely moving in the water. Now he's got it going again.
Yeah, he's off plane, and now he's got it going again. But being off plane at the 1 minute gun is certainly not a good thing to do.
That's Rick Christensen, a first timer. 9 seconds as we take a look at DeWalt Tools. That is being driven by Michael Hansen. We have Miss Wellness Plan 2, Rick Christensen, Smokin' Joe's, Mark Tate, Jimmy King, and the Miss Exide, and there is the start.
It's a good start. I was totally wrong. Mike Hansen took the inside lane. Smokin' Joe's was far to the outside. They're coming down on the front straightaway, heading for the Belle Isle turn.
And we're looking from the Labatt Eye in the sky at a very tight race up front. Actually making some headway on the outside. That's Smokin' Joe's.
They're almost neck and neck going through the Belle Isle turn. Smokin' Joe on the outside, and the DeWalt Tools with Michael Hansen on the inside lane.
Longer way to go on the outside, but Smokin' Joe's by far the fastest qualifier. Had a lap at 168 miles an hour.
Mark Tate with a commanding lead now going into the Rooster Tail turn. A little bit loose. Boat gets up in the air just a little bit. Mark brings it back down.
Mark Tate is a tremendous driver, just 36 years old. Local guy, his dad also driving. In fact, his wife Sandy was a driver.
Sandy was a great limited inboard driver. Won a lot of races and quite a few championships.
Now to the Labatt Eye in the sky once again as we take a look at the lead that Mark Tate is opening in the Smokin' Joe's over Michael Hansen in DeWalt Tools.
I think Mike Hansen has just resided to the fact that he's going to try and run just behind Mark and protect that second place finish, get those 300 points.
Mark shouldn't have to work the engine all that hard.
Beautiful picture of the Smokin' Joe's coming up the backstretch. You can actually see the wing in the back of the boat moving back and forth a little bit. A little bit of concern there. It shouldn't be doing that.
Around the Rooster Tail. And you're looking straight at Smokin' Joe coming at you. What a gorgeous boat.
White flag lap. Smokin' Joe got the white flag. 1 lap to go. Beautiful running boat down the front straightaway.
Michael Hansen well behind in second place in DeWalt Tools.
I think the battle is for second and third. We've got Jimmy King in the X side coming up, closing a little bit on the DeWalt Tools. We have a problem on the race course with one of the boats smoking. The Miss Wellness Plan 2, I believe, is the boat that's smoking on the race course.
Miss Wellness Plan 2, not all that well right now. Well, Smoking Joe's is looking very healthy.
Coming down for the checkered flag. This is going to be the finish of Heat 1B.
There's the checkered flag, and there is Mark Tate roaring by in the Smoking Joe's. He takes it. Second place going to DeWalt Tools out of Madison, Indiana, with Michael Hansen.
And we've got Miss Exide. That turns out to be the boat that's laying down the vapor trail around the race course.
But still going. And bringing up the rear will be Rick Christensen in Miss Wellness Plan 2. So it turns out that Miss Wellness Plan is all right as far as we can see, but bringing up the rear. And as we check the Fruit of the Loom results of Heat 1B, indeed, Smokin' Joe's with Mark Tate was an easy winner, followed by DeWalt Tool, Miss Exide, and the Miss Wellness Plan 2, according to form in Heat 1A and 1B. Now, down to the dock for the winner with results.
Mark, outside starter of the Detroit River. How come?
Well, you know, first time you run on a clock in a year's time. Just want to get my bearings straight. Had nothing really to prove that heat. You know, we got 400 points. We got the heat win. And we did just what we wanted to with the Camel Power Smokin' Joe.
And we'll be back live with more from Detroit, the APPA Gold Cup, in just a moment. Welcome back live to the Chrysler Jeep APPA Gold Cup Unlimited Hydroplane races here in Detroit. We are on hold. The wind is still blowing hard, but the weather was very nice not long ago when Steve Montgomery put together this Rancho Performance Corner. We're going to take a look at what wings have to do with racing.
Hydroplanes have wings for quite the opposite reason of race cars. On land, wings are used to hold down the back and sometimes the front of the car and increase traction. About 20 years ago, boat racers started mounting wings above the transom designed to lift the back of the boat, get it up onto the surface where it's lighter and faster. This wing can be adjusted with these bolts by the crew when the boat's in the pits, but the driver cannot control this wing from the cockpit. The driver on the race course does control these small wings on the front of the boat, commonly called canards. With his left foot, he can raise these wings and hopefully bring the nose back down.
Yes, hopefully would be the key word there, Tom. Normally that works pretty well.
Actually, the canard wings on the front of the boat work pretty well, and the driver, if he uses those in the proper way, really can trim his boat properly.
Let's take a look at who things were working well for in Heat 2A, run yesterday here in the Detroit River. Here's the lineup. Rick Christensen with Miss Wellness Plan 2, Miss DOC AccuView, Steve David, Dave Villwalk in the Pico, Mitch Evans, and Mark Evans also. Here's how we called it. Counting down now toward the start of Heat 2A at the APPA Gold Cup races here in Detroit. This will be the first of the two second-round heats featuring Pico American Dream with Dave Villwalk at the wheel as the favorite. Also in the race, a couple of Miss Wellness Plans. Miss Wellness Plan with Mark Evans and Miss Wellness Plan 2 with Rick Christensen driving. We have Miss DOC AccuView, Steve David, the driver, and the only piston-powered hydroplane in the race, Mitch Evans, brother of Mark, at the wheel, and he's been having some trouble, Tom, getting set.
Yeah, his boat's not been performing properly. We're 14 seconds from the start of this heat. We've got Mark Evans on the inside lane, Dave Villwalk next to him, Stephen David in the Miss DOC. Looks like we have a slow start, but a good start.
Wellness Plan 2 on the outside appears to have the early lead.
Miss DOC is heading side by side with Dave Villwalk, heading for the first turn toward the Belle Isle Bridge. Dave Villwalk now pulling out to a little bit of a lead. 3 boats abreast going through the Belle Isle turn.
But Dave Villwalk has got, by past performance, the most powerful boat. As we look at the Belle Isle Bridge in the background, the widest turn on the unlimited hydroplane racing circuit.
This is a beautiful view of the boats coming down the backstretch. Dave Villwalk out in front. Mark Evans in second place on the inside.
It doesn't look like he's going to be on the inside for very long unless Dave Villwalk just wants to hold that second lane.
Here's a beautiful shot of the Pico American Dream going through the Rooster Tail turn. Mark Evans still on the inside, trying to gain on his teammate, Dave Villwalk. Stephen David there, just to the outside of Dave Villwalk's wake in third place. Our second place boat is Mark Evans, Miss Wellness Plan. Mark Evans still just inside the wake of the Pico American Dream, driven by Dave Villwalk out of Seattle, Washington. There you can see the Belle Isle Bridge in the background.
Villwalk apparently does not have to worry that much, it would seem, about Mark Evans, because he is just holding that lane at this point and really driving it beautifully.
He's got the boat trimmed out just right. Dave is a very good driver and very knowledgeable about race boats. He used to be the crew chief on the Circus.
Once again, nicely around the Rooster Tail turn.
There's a nice shot of Mark Evans. Stephen David, I'm a little bit surprised. that I thought that he'd run a little bit quicker and press a little bit more for second place. That those points, the point differential between first and second is very valuable before the end of the day.
Any indication that Steve's having any problem, Tom?
The boat looks a little light on its feet. Maybe he just doesn't have it trimmed quite right. That's something that the crew can work on when they get the boat back to the pits. Each heat they keep tweaking on them to make them better and better. Steve is still hanging in there for third place, but if I was him, I'd charge a little harder and try and get that second place points.
We are in the final lap, and it looks like Dave Villwalk is going to take it.
There's again a shot of the Miss DOC AccuView driven by Stephen David.
And there's the checkered flag, which Pico's American Dream will take to win Heat 2A. So Dave Villwalk bouncing along, takes the checkered flag.
Second place is Mark Evans, Miss Wellness Plan. And our third place boat is going to be
Steve David. And again, we check the Fruit of the Loom results and tell you now that Mark Evans again is moving up to replace Chip Hanauer, Miss Budweiser, with the injury to Chip, and Ken Dryden steps up to replace Mark. After the race, Steve Montgomery talked with Dave Villwalk.
Little bit rougher, you know, different race, but came out okay. Progressive tool. Whole family here, people behind us. It's good to do good for them.
The APBA Gold Cup, these 4 days in Detroit, it's us. You know, it's our Indianapolis 500. It's our Kentucky Derby all rolled into one. We have the largest crowd ever to watch a sporting event in the United States of America comes to watch it. So
the American flag whipping in the breeze gives you an idea of just how strong that breeze is here in Detroit. We are live for the APPA Gold Cup Unlimited Hydroplane races. Unfortunately, right now we are on hold because that wind is whipping up the water, as you see, making it unsafe for racing. Yesterday, though, we had quite a race. 2B, Mike Hansen and DeWalt Tools, Chip Hanauer and Miss Bud, Jimmy King, Miss Exide, Mark Tate and Smokin' Joe's. Counting down to the start of Heat 2B at the Chrysler Jeep APPA Gold Cup races here in Detroit. And this should be some heat, Tom. The Miss Budweiser with Chip Hanauer, Smokin' Joe with Mark Tate, plus Michael Hansen and DeWalt Tools, and Jimmy King and Miss Exide.
Inside 10 seconds to the start of the race. 4 seconds. Good start, it looks like. Budweiser on the inside. Smokin' Joe is on his hip, heading to the first turn.
And Smokin' Joe moving fast. Chip Hanauer will try to stay, of course, to the inside, the shorter trip.
They're getting
Joe, very close.
Very close, very close. About 15 feet apart, and they're looking neck and neck going to the Belle Isle turn. They're in the turn now, side by side.
Little bounciness there.
Oh, Budweiser crashed. Budweiser's over. Budweiser crashed.
Goodness.
The wind caught him down there in the Belle Isle turn. The boat's right side up. It's still right side up. But a tremendous accident here. The cowling's gone, the wing is gone, the cockpit looks intact. Fortunately, the boat is still right side up.
And Tom, you know this kind of thing is going to happen from time to time in hydroplane racing. It has happened to you in terms of flipping, and yet it's still very scary to see. It's got to be incredibly scary in there.
Very scary moment. Spectacular crashes like that are, you know, never what a driver wants to go through.
Here's a look at what it was like on the water thereafter. We're looking at the Smokin' Joes now, and at that point, Mark Tate was stuck inside the cockpit, but all right, apparently unhurt. They couldn't get him out, however. The rescue boat's out there on the water.
The canopy was locked shut from the impact. The front part of the cowling was open, but the canopy was actually jammed shut. No real emergency as far as Mark was concerned. They took the boat under tow back to the pit area. You can see the rescue crews working, you know, attaching the lines, the Zodiac there, the divers, everybody there, you know, attending to Mark Tate.
So Chip Hanauer in the Miss Budweiser lost it going around right over the top of the Smokin' Joes. And we're now going to see how that happened with Chip on the inside, Mark very tight on the outside, and around the Belle Isle turn, I should say. And it really is, it's scary to watch. Let's take a look.
You can see the two boats are actually really too close together now. They're inches apart. The sponson on the Budweiser raises up in the air and crosses over the canopy of the Smokin' Joes. The boat's now completely airborne across the top of the cowling, upside down. Of course, a lot of spray, a lot of water, flying backwards, wing getting ripped off. Quite a crash.
And keep in mind, all the time, Chip Hanauer is in there being bounced around, but he is protected.
Fantastic job of driving, too, by Mike Hansen and the DeWalt Tools getting away from that accident. You can see from the inside now. And there, look at that. Look at the velocity of that impact.
Just rips that high wing right off it, bounces upside down, and then lands upright. Here's one more look now.
This is the inside of the race course. The boat completely airborne over the top of the Smokin' Joe, ripping off the Smokin' Joe cowling and wing. Look at the spray cascading up into the air.
Absolutely frightening. And as it turns out, Chip was fine for that. Here we are back on the dock as they get Mark Tate out the escape hatch underneath Smokin' Joe's because they still couldn't get him out the top. A little round of applause from everybody on the dock there in the pits for Smokin' Joe's. And Mark apparently doing well. He talked to Steve.
Get on the trailer. We'll get her back. Lead the way. We'll get it.
Okay, out of the way, please.
No, I'll take it.
Can you give us a quick word? You want to talk? How you feel?
Feel absolutely fine. That's the funniest way I ever thought I'd come out of an escape hatch.
What did you see happen?
Well, I was kind of, you know, holding my lane through the turn, and all of a sudden I saw Bud just out of the corner of my eye where he got high, and all of a sudden he just started coming across, and his sponson hit right at the left-hand side of the cockpit, and he went right over the top of me.
Go get checked out. Okay? Thanks, Mark.
Look at the damage that was done to Smokin' Joe's.
Look at the wing damage to the Miss Budweiser, and the entire cowling ripped away. The canopy hatch completely severed off the boat.
Jim, are you gathering parts already?
Oh, we don't even know what we're going to do yet. I mean, I'm not sure we can even fix it. Usually that's about a 2-week job. So I'm trying to line up some things. We're going to take a look at it. We'll take a shot at it. If we can fix it, fine. If we can't, well, we're out.
We have spare parts for everything on the boat, and it looks like we probably can fix everything except the canopy is busted really bad, and it's broken right in his vision, and I'm sure that the URC is not going to let us run that canopy on that boat. I'm going to see what I can do about getting one shipped in. If we try and take the canopy off T5, these canopies are glued onto the composite structure, and to try and pull it off will probably damage that canopy and crack that one too. So the big concern right now is if I can get a canopy here in time.
As it turned out, he was able to get a canopy here in time, but Chip Hanauer not good to go, so Mark Evans stepping up to drive in place of Chip Hanauer. Smokin' Joe's, though, not able to get it together, although Mark Tate is good to go, and so they couldn't go. Still, 2B was going to be run with 2 boats. Here's how it went. DeWalt Tools on the inside there with Michael Hansen in the first lap, and on the outside it is Jimmy King and Miss X side.
Both boats running pretty close together throughout this heat. The water conditions are still pretty decent shape.
Last lap now that we're looking at here in the restart of 2B. Mike Hansen with the Madison, Indiana municipally, 13,000 folks there own the boat. And DeWalt Tools will get an unexpected first place in Heat 2Bs. We see the checkered flag there on the left.
Checkered flag waving, 134 mile an hour.
Driver, and one of these days he's going to be real aggressive out there, so I didn't want to have to run him.
Talking there about Jimmy King, and we see the results. DeWalt Tools wins it and has a total of 700 points after the first 2 heats, having come in second in the first time around. Then Miss X side, Smokin' Joe's Miss Bud out, and we'll be back. Yacht Club here on the Detroit River, where for the APBA Gold Cup Unlimited Hydroplane races, and the wind is still howling here, meaning it is not safe for the boats to run, so we are on a hold. It's ice skating without the ice. Hit the road with the best in the world as they compete in the ultimate inline challenge. That's Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Deuce. Now let's go down to the pits and Steve Montgomery, who was with the driver of DeWalt Tools, Michael Hansen.
The last time the Budweiser team had a substitute driver here in Detroit, it was Mike Hansen moving from his ride down to the Miss Budweiser. You know how Mark Evans feels right now.
Yeah, it's a real tough situation. Luckily for Mark, he had a night's notice. I only had about 15 minutes notice, but it's real tough. I mean, he hasn't been in this boat in a year, and the Detroit River is awful rough, especially today, and if we pull this thing off, it's going to be tough for him.
Mike, if you go racing today, there is no Smokin' Joe's. There is a backup driver in the Bud camp. Actually increases your chances a bit. If we wait a couple days, a healthy field again. Which way would you rather have it?
Well, I'd prefer to run today, no doubt about it. It's definitely to our advantage to run today. I mean, Mark Tate and the Smokin' Joe will be tough. Chip will be healthy, and that'd be a tough combination to try to beat. So we'd much rather run today. It'd give us a good shot at the Gold Cup.
How's your boat in rough water?
We got a big surprise yesterday. The boat runs actually faster in rough water than it does in smooth in qualifying, so we're real pleased about that.
So that's it here. John says let's go ahead and run it.
But right now the officials, as you see with the flags blowing, are saying let's not run it just yet. A little bit still unsafe for these hydroplanes. We'll be back with more from Detroit live in a moment. We are back live in Detroit for the APBA Gold Cup Unlimited Hydroplane races. The wind blowing hard. John Nicholson along with Tom Deeth, the 3-time Gold Cup winner. And we are joined now live by UHRA Commissioner Bill Donor. Bill, at this point, where do we stand? Where are we going?
It's windy.
Indeed it is.
There, fellas. Well, we're in a hold pattern, as you said several times here, and what a shame. What a shame. We're going to try our darndest to run this race before darkness tonight, and if not, we'll be back tomorrow morning. It is the Gold Cup, and we intend to get to run it. Gosh, you know, we were sitting on a monster, weren't we? But I'll tell you one thing for everybody that's watching. If it were tomorrow morning, the Smokin' Joe would have the opportunity to work all night and probably be back to race again.
And as we know, these crews often will work all night if there's an opportunity.
Well, they were out here all night under searchlights last night. Gee, this pit area was lit up. I came down about midnight, and everybody went as long and hard as they could. They're working on the boat right now across town in Detroit. So my guess is that if it goes to tomorrow, they will be ready to run. You got some great footage from the Labatt's Eye in the sky up there, those 2 boats when they went through the turn. I couldn't believe that.
Unbelievable footage.
I don't know. It's windy. I've had a wind gauge right here, you know, all day long out here, and it measures it. You can actually kind of see it. And with a wind gauge, we have gusts 25 to 30 miles an hour up here. It's just too tough. It's drifting. Tom, you've driven out here. It's your river.
Yeah, this is no racing conditions today. That's for sure.
No.
All right. Well, we're going to stick with it and see what happens. Bill, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks,
and
guys.
we are going to do the very best that we can. Now, Bernie Little has won 101 times in unlimited hydroplane racing, won his 10th Gold Cup here last year. He is Mr. Unlimited, And Jim Hedrick spent some time with him earlier.
In all your experiences, Bernie, what has been your biggest fascination with this sport of unlimited racing?
Of course, my fascination for unlimited hydroplane racing is to see the Miss Budweiser out in front. And, you know, what a thrill that is to be out there racing against the competition. When you get racing against Smokin' Joes and some of these fast boats, and you go out there and you see them all out there, when my goosebumps raise up on my arms, you'll know what I'm thinking about.
With all the years in the sport, you've become the spokesman of the group. How'd that come about?
I don't know. Only thing I know is I just want the sport to survive, and there's a lot of housekeeping that goes with that, and a lot of money that's got to be raised to make sure that happens. And I spend an enormous amount of time, as you know, Jim, trying to make sure that that money gets in the tilt to make sure our sport stays #1.
Out of all the trophies, all the races you've won, what trophy means the most?
Well, when I won the 100th victory in Seattle, in the hometown of my crew that's been there forever, that was really, really a highlight in my life, because I know what it meant to my racing team and how hard they worked to earn that. And then when you win 5 consecutive world championships in a row, that's never been done before, and that's going to be a long time before it's done again. Then the world's greatest trophy is sitting right out there, win 10 gold cups. That's never been done before either, Jim, and I'm sure looking forward to doing it again.
With 33 years in the sport, where do you see the sport going? And better yet, where do you want this sport to go?
Keep moving on with these additional new race sites that I see coming forth starting next year. Bill Doner's doing an outstanding job as commissioner of our sport, and I think that with the more television, more radio, the publicity is just skyrocketing, and I just think that it'll just do nothing but go straight forward.
When do you call it quits?
Oh, Jim, I'd never. I wouldn't quit for a heartbeat. When you dragged me away, that's when I quit. But I'm going to tell you one thing. We're going to break our records. We broke our records in Phoenix already this year. And we were really a pleasure getting to see the show on ESPN. And we're looking forward to the Gold Cup being live.
And we are live at the APPA Gold Cup as we look from above at the pits here on the Detroit River. We'll be back with more right after this.
Is there a heaven?
We are live on the Detroit River for the APPA Gold Cup Unlimited Hydroplane races. We are being held up by the wind, even though the sun is shining beautifully. Going down to the pits now, where Jim Hedrick is with driver Steve David. Jim?
All right, John, actually, Steve David is not only a winner in the Unlimited Circuit, soon he'll be the president of all of the American Powerboat Association. How you rigged that?
Jim, I just so hope to win this APPA Gold Cup, because I'll win it the year that I get the opportunity to be president of this great racing organization.
What about once you take over the reins? Do you quit driving?
No, in fact, I want to drive a lot more, because the members will want to be making a lot of nasty phone calls to me when I'm in the boat. They can't.
Okay, now I understand that Steve Montgomery is with the point leader so far. Let's go to Steve.
That is correct, Jim Hendrick. Last time we raced, it was on a very small race course in the desert out in Phoenix, Arizona. The winner was Dave Vilwalk, one of our top 3 qualifiers here. And Dave, the good news is they're watching you live back in your hometown of Seattle. The bad news is you're not in the race boat when you should be.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, we're a lot of fans here. They're putting on a great event, and the weather's just not cooperating with us. The boat's running great. We're ready to go at them, but the weather's not going to let us do it, doesn't look like today.
Maybe. You've done a lot of pacing in the last hour, and I know it's tougher on you right now than out there going 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, this is the worst. We want to be racing, and you know, it's frustrating not to be able to do that.
Right now, guys, if they do get this race in later today, this has to be one of the favorites, Dave Vilwalk and the Pico American Dream.
Thank you, Steve. Plenty of sun, but plenty of wind as well. We are still on hold here in Detroit. The APPA Gold Cup Unlimited Hydroplane races right now holding in the pits. We'll be back live with more in a moment.
Actually, the famous Bill Munsey once said, John, that you don't beat the Detroit River, you just survive it. And they're waiting to survive it. When we're going to get it in, we don't know. But this infamous course has been famous for many, many years and having great Gold Cups here in the Motor City. Let's go to Steve Montgomery.
Well, you're absolutely right, Jim, and so far today it's the river winning. I was just about to say the weather is improving. I felt the wind die down, and just as Jim said my name, we got another gust. So whether we will get this Gold Cup in later today remains to be seen. We've had great racing so far, but a little ways to go still in deciding the 1996 Gold Cup champion.
Now, sooner or later, we will get it done, and when it does get done, you'll see it on ESPN2 and on ESPN. If we get the race in today, you'll see it on RPM tonight. Tom, it has been a phenomenal weekend in spite of not getting there, as we say.
That's right. High speeds in qualifying. The water conditions and the weather conditions were perfect up until this morning, and we're really hoping to get this Gold Cup in, though.
All right. This race, Miss Wellness Plan, Pico American Dream, and DeWalt Tools.
Pico American Dream is on the inside. DeWalt Tools is on the outside. Ken Dryden and the Miss Wellness Plan in the middle. There's our start.
As we look from the Labatt's eye in the sky, you can see Dave Villwock moving ahead on the inside lane in Pico's American Dream. He'd be the favorite. He is the co-leader in points so far. And if we are not able to run a final after these two heats, then the point leader at that juncture will be declared the winner of the Gold Cup this year. As we look now toward the Belle Isle Bridge and into the back stretch.
You can see the water conditions are extremely rough. The spray is bouncing over the bows of the boats. They're very cautious going through that Belle Isle turn, coming down the back stretch now where they can really get to smoother water. That's DeWalt Tools coming up the backstretch by the Detroit Yacht Club. Pico American Dream still in the lead. DeWalt Tools going through the Rooster Tail turn. There's our leader now, Dave Villwock and Pico American Dream.
And it's dancing back and forth from sponson to sponson, but Dave appears to have it well under control. The wind really howling up here.
Dave Villwock coming down the front straightaway now, heading back toward the Belle Isle turn. The swells down there by that Belle Isle turn have got to be really treacherous.
As I alluded to just a moment ago, the winner of this heat could very well wind up being the entire winner of the Gold Cup this year. They came in tied, Mike Hansen and Dave Villwock did, with 700 points for the first two heats. If they can't run a final, then the winner of this heat in all likelihood would be the high point getter.
Mike Hansen on the outside again, looking for better water. They're coming down the Belle Isle backstretch toward the Detroit Yacht Club. Dave Villwock still in a commanding lead, very comfortable lead. The water conditions are very reminiscent of the final heat of the 1976 Gold Cup here in Detroit.
And you'll remember last year, as you saw on the screen just a moment ago, Mike Hansen flipped last year, so he's got to be mighty careful. Ooh, a little light there.
That's Ken Dryden
in the Wellness Plan. And Ken, of course, stepped up to replace Mark Evans, who's going to be driving the Miss Budweiser in our next heat. Ken was available, had qualified, backup driver, and got himself the ride. Here's Dave Villwock.
Dave Villwock's got his boat trimmed very conservatively. You can see he's riding nice and level. Little bounce up there going through the turn there at the Belle Isle turn, but comfortable lead.
138 miles an hour in that lap.
Well, the water conditions reflect that speed. If the water was a lot smoother, the speeds would be probably 20 miles an hour faster.
20 years ago, you won the Gold Cup in a piston engine, Miss US, Tom, in these kind of conditions.
That's exactly right, and I know what they're going through down there at that Belle Isle turn. There's a lot of ground swells and big rollers down there. The driver just isn't looking forward to getting down there.
So he is certainly looking forward to getting to that checkered flag.
Dave Villwock now in the final turn, the Rooster Tail turn, coming around for the checkered flag. I'm sure he's glad this one will be over with. There's our checkered flag waving. Dave Villwock, our winner.
Pico's American Dream, so he now is going to have 1,100 points as we wait to see if indeed there will be a final. There will not be a Heat 4A and 4B. This is going to be it as far as the heats. Dave Villwock in the U100, 6'6" Dave. In the previous three heats, Dave Villwock, Pico American Dream, has 1,100. Then it is Michael Hansen in DeWalt Tools. Miss Budweiser with Mark Evans now at the wheel after the injury to Chip Hanauer. Miss Wellness Plan, Miss DOC AccuView, and Miss Exide will trail. Let's go to the pits and Jim Hendrick. Jim.
Well, very, very, very tense Pico American Dream crew here now. They're very intent. They lead in points, but points don't mean a thing now. The first one to take the checkered flag wins, regardless of the points. Let's go to Steve Montgomery.
That's right, Jim and John. One thing we know for sure, we're going to put a brand new name on the Gold Cup trophy. Only Mark Tate and Chip Hanauer from our original field were already on there. Neither of them is in this final heat. Here we go.
All right, Steve, and Bernie Little, should Miss Budweiser win it, will repeat. It would be his 11th Gold Cup. Again, Mark Evans now at the wheel, and stepping up to replace him in the Miss Wellness Plan, Ken Dryden is the driver now. As we look from above, Dave Villwock driving Pico's American Dream. Then Michael Hansen with the Madison, Indiana entry. And that is DeWalt Tools. Mark Evans now once again driving the Miss Budweiser. Ken Dryden stepping up to drive the Miss Wellness Plan. Steve David in the Miss DOC AccuView, and trailing we have Jimmy King driving the Miss Exide.
We got Budweiser in lane 2, Stephen David in lane 3. Coming up for the start. Excellent start.
We've got a beautiful race with Dave Villwock on the inside, and Mark Evans next to him in the Miss Budweiser, then stringing out the boats all very tight.
They're coming down neck and neck. Villwock on the inside, just a slight advantage by the Budweiser. Villwock right on the buoy line, just nips the pin slightly in front. Budweiser right on his hip.
As we go around the Belle Isle turn, looking from the Levat eye in the sky, Villwock with the lead over Mark Evans. Villwock again in Pico's American Dream, the blue boat on the right side of your screen, and on the left it is Miss Budweiser, the red boat, with Mark Evans at the wheel. Looks like he's closing some ground on him, Tom.
He's closing some ground. It's the smoothest part of the race course, and Mark Evans is trying to pick up the pace. Villwock still in the lead, coming by the Detroit Yacht Club. Both boats looking really good. Going into the pit turn. Villwock with a slight advantage. Tight turn, tight turn.
Look at that rooster tail around the rooster tail turn. And I say he should be gaining some water on him, obviously, not some ground, Tommy.
He's got that right sponson flying a little bit. The weather conditions are a lot better for this final heat, as we saw earlier.
This is a 5-lap race around this 2.5-mile course.
Whoa, Villwock got a little bit loose. Stephen David, we've been told, has hit a buoy. He'll be penalized. Dave Villwock now pulling out a little bit more on the Miss Budweiser. Budweiser going wide around the Belle Isle turn.
A little bit wide there indeed.
Dave Villwock out of Seattle, Washington, leading the Gold Cup. Dave is a graduate from the limited inboard category. He's run flat bottoms. He's won championships in a lot of classes. He's going to have to call on all the skills he's got as a driver to win this race.
Now, Tom, the wind has died down somewhat from earlier, but it's still a little bit rough out there, isn't it?
Still a little bit of rough, but look at that Miss Pico go through the rooster tail turn. She's handling beautiful. Dave Villwock makes his own propellers for his race boat, and I'm sure he's got a great setup on this boat for the final heat. Mark Evans now jumped to the inside.
What does that have the capability of doing for him, if anything?
Well, he's going to hope to try and get into Dave's wake now to look for some smooth water. He's crossed his wake twice, which is actually an advantage for Villwock. He's going from inside to outside.
A race for 4th and 5th in the back of the pack, as we see from the Levat eye in the sky.
DeWalt Tool looks like it's in 3rd place, and Miss Wellness Plan in 4th. We still have Dave Villwock in a large lead over the Miss Budweiser.
Everybody throwing up enormous rooster tails.
The crowd loving it. They're clapping. They're seeing a great Gold Cup heat. Dave Villwock still in the lead. Miss Budweiser in 2nd place. DeWalt Tools in 3rd. Wellness Plan, and Jimmy King coming up on the Wellness Plan.
And the boats are pretty well strung out at this point. Tom, is there a danger now? Because you've got to get through the whole 5 laps in good shape. You got to take care of your equipment.
Well, Dave is, I'm sure he's...
There goes a buoy.
There goes a buoy. Definitely. Dave is listening and feeling a lot of strange things in his boat now. He's got a comfortable lead, but as a driver, I can tell you, he's worried about every nut, bolt, and screw on that boat. He wants to protect that lead, come home the winner.
All right, Dave Villwock in Pico's American Dream, as we see the Zodiac lap 132 miles an hour for Dave.
Dave's boat still handling beautifully, running well, coming through the rooster tail turn.
Little light there.
Hitting some chop from the boats that he's catching. He's getting ready to lap some boats. Last lap, white flag lap. Villwock still in a commanding lead. One more lap to go, and his name will go in history books.
Dave has got to be a mighty happy guy right at this moment, but he's also got to be a mighty careful guy.
You know, it's every driver's dream to get his name on that Gold Cup just one time, and Dave Wilwalk is within 1/2 a lap of winning the APBA Gold Cup.
And Tom, you want to know about that, having yourself on it 3 times.
Oh, it's very exciting. There's nothing like the first APBA Gold Cup win.
Last time around the Belle Isle Bridge turn for Dave Wilwalk. Little bouncy there. Now appears to be nice and smooth along the water.
Budweiser in second place still. Not very close, but a good, strong second place.
I suppose the good news is that Budweiser is holding up after all the repairs they had to do on it overnight.
Right, and again, Dave Wilwalk is just praying that he can make it through this last corner, the rooster tail turn, on his way for the checkered flag. Not too far to go.
There's the checkered flag. Beautiful job by Dave Wilwalk and Pico's American Dream. A first-time winner at the wheel. First-time winner for the owner, Fred Leland, in the Pico's American Dream. There is Bernie Little looking on, disappointed, no doubt. Not able to pick up his 11th. Not able to defend. There is your new APBA Gold Cup Unlimited Hydroplane champion, Pico's American Dream, with a 6'6" Dave Wilwalk piloting.
Dave Wilwalk, a dream come true for him. He's been racing inboard hydroplanes and unlimiteds quite a while. He was a crew chief on the Miss Circus a few years back. Look at the buoy on Stephen David's Miss DOC.
A rough run for Stephen David in the Miss DOC.
I'm telling you, the horns are blowing at the yacht club.
So as they celebrate in the Pico's American Dream pits, we're going to break. We'll be back here in Detroit in just a moment with the APBA Gold Cup. After a long day, it is over here at the Detroit River. The APBA Gold Cup Championship has been won by Dave Wilwalk and Pico's American Dream. That's his 2nd win in a row this year and gives him 1,500 total points in the O'Doul's High Point Championship. 2nd place to Walt Tools and Michael Hansen. Miss Budweiser in 3rd, and you see the rest of the standings. Now let's go down to Steve Montgomery and a victorious Dave Wilwalk.
Needless to say, John, there is jubilation down here. Dave Wilwalk and the Pico American Dream, winners of the 1996 Gold Cup. How does that sound? How does it feel?
It's pretty special here. You know, this is Danny's last race, and I'm a little choked up. You know, Danny had been trying to win a Gold Cup for a long time, and we tried with Chip, and we couldn't do it, and we tried as hard as we could, and with a number of teams, we couldn't do it. But with Progressive Tool and all the people here, we just kept working and working and working all through the weekend, and we got the computer running the heat before last. We got to tune the engine up some, and it showed. I mean, awesome power, and the boat just handled perfect. You know, not one flaw in the equipment. An unbelievable group of people, and I'm just proud to be involved with Progressive Tool.
Congratulations, David Wilwalk. Let's go to Jim Hendrick down the pit.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Mark, it's really a tight race a while. Then what happened?
Oh, it's just rough out there, and I knew Dave was going to go out to the wall, push me wide. And after the thrash that the crew went through, I figured let's get this boat back here to the dock in one piece, get him a 2nd place, and get on to the next race. Looks like possibility of, you know, picking up another 1st place someplace else. But we'll come back next year and hard and get that Gold Cup.
The APBA Gold Cup has been a production of Diamond P Sports in association with ES.